We read today, we're looking at the story of Joseph. This dreamer. Someone said, I didn't get much sleep last night. I dreamt I was frozen and being dropped off of the building. And this morning I'm shattered.
Can you stop?
So we've got this very mini series that we're looking at Joseph, who we all know from the Gospel according to Andrew Lloyd Webber. But today we're going to go back to the original story. And it's in Genesis 37. It is our reading for Readers 1 this week. I hope you've still got Readers 1. It's still going for a couple of weeks yet. And there'll be a new one. It's on page 41 of our Bibles. I don't want to read the whole passage. A, you will read it in the week. B, you know it fairly well. But let me just pick out a few verses this morning. So let's say these words before we read them. I hold God's word in my hands. It encourages, corrects, and instructs me. Lord, speak to me now. Starting at verse 1. Jacob lived in the land where his father had stayed, the land of Canaan. This is the account of Jacob. Jacob, a young man of 17, was tending his flocks with his brothers, the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zipporah. His father's wives, and he brought them. Mess of that, you know. Right, Joseph, a young man of 17, was tending his flocks with his brothers, the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And he brought their father a bad report about them. Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons, because he had been born to him in his old age. And he made a richly ornated robe for him. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him. Joseph had a dream, and he told it to his brothers. They hated him all the more. He said to them, listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of corn out in the field, when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it. His brothers said to him, do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us? And they hated him all the more, because of his dream and what he had said. We'll stop at that point, but read the whole story again. Even if you think it's familiar, I'm sure the Lord will give you something else to understand this week as you read it.
Steve?
Yes?
Can I just ask, I'm a bit confused.
Yes?
Who changed their name to Israel?
Jacob.
Jacob.
Jacob?
Okay.
Yes.
That's fine. All right.
Two names.
Say that.
Like you've got two names. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Surname.
Okay. I'm not doing well with this today. I'm thinking of three things at the same time. A little video clip, which needs some sound, yeah?
Churches are full of people. The broken, the lonely, the wanderers, the hopeful, the enthusiastic, the lost, the passionate, and the faithful. For many, this gathering represents the whole of their church experience. They'll listen attentively to a message, they'll sing a few psalms, they'll be invited to pray, and then they'll return to their lives. But for some, questions will start bubbling to the surface of their faith. Is this the extent of what Jesus intended for his followers? Who is the church for? Why does the world need the church, and what is the church after all? Well, the church isn't the building where people attend weekly services. It's not a program, a list of rules, or a philosophy. The church isn't a political affiliation, a country club, or a holiday tradition. The church was never intended to be just an assembly of people wearing nice clothes and saying nice things. The church is all the followers of Jesus everywhere. The Greek word for church is the word ekklesia. It's the combination of two words, ek, which means out, and kaleo, meaning called. Thus the church, the ekklesia, means the called out ones. In other words, the church, the collective body of all the followers of Jesus everywhere, is called out by someone for something, for a purpose. The beginning of the book of Acts has Jesus calling his disciples to a task, bringing something called the gospel, the good news, to all the world. And this gospel would go out to all the outsiders, the forgotten, the abandoned, and the excluded. And they, those outsiders, would see and receive that good news as actually good. And when Jesus talked about the gospel, it was always in conjunction with something else, something called the kingdom of God. And in the kingdom of God, God's purposes are made apparent. There's justice and righteousness. There's hope for the poor and for the oppressed. And under the kingdom of God, mercy and forgiveness take precedence over bitterness and resentment. Now, people previously deemed to be far from God are brought into his family, adopted as his sons and daughters. And the fullness of the kingdom of God, according to Jesus, is not merely expressed as a way for people to escape an evil world when they die. Rather, the good news of God's kingdom is about the announcement of God's eternity, moving into the present world and carrying on into the life to come. The people who belong to Jesus join him in his worldwide restoration project. And the called out ones, the church, are committed to advancing this good news of God's kingdom into the world. Not as a means of helping people avoid the world, but rather to see God's kingdom life being made real here and now. The whole church, with the power of the whole gospel, for the whole world.
And that's the church. That's Highfield. That's why we are here. I thought you were going to stay over there.
Is he here?
So we're thinking about Joseph these next couple of weeks. It's our church anniversary, and I wanted to tie in the two storylines, if you like. Those two things we had on Message Church. We had about Joseph as well, and lots of craft and so on, including Joseph's coat there that was all coloured in by stickers. And so we had a good time on Friday. Joseph got into trouble, it seems, because he shared his dreams. And that was his kind of downfall, if you like, amongst his brothers. I wonder if you heard, talking of dreams, whether you heard about the guy who slept with his head under his pillow, and then he woke up because the fairies had taken all of his teeth out. So, when we say someone is a dreamer, because sometimes we do, we go and think, oh, that person's a dreamer. Is that a good thing, or is it a bad thing? How do we kind of perceive the idea of someone being a dreamer? I wonder if you remember your dreams. I hardly ever remember my dreams. I wonder if you have dreams that are kind of reoccurring. They happen quite regularly, maybe every night, maybe on a regular basis. I wonder if you tell people your dreams, like Joseph told his brothers his dreams. Because Joseph had this dream, and although it was imagery, sheaves and so on, of wheat, it was pretty clear, and obviously that the brothers seemed to catch on to the idea that it was about Joseph and his brothers. Now, Joseph was the young brother, and in those days that mattered if you were the young brother. and you were way down the family line. But here is Joseph coming to his older brothers, considerably older brothers in most cases, saying that in his dreams the family were bowing down to him, honouring him, if you will. And we can see how that might cause a little tension within the family. And humanly, the dreams just seemed wrong. They seemed to be very egotistical. Who does he think he is? He's the younger brother, and he's saying that we're all going to be bowing down to him. And Joseph was put down for having these dreams. In fact, they said in verse 19, "Here comes the dreamer." And that wasn't a compliment. Let's get rid of that dreamer. They were really irritated. They didn't want a dreamer around who kind of seemed to stir up things. But where do you think Joseph's dreams came from? Why was he having these dreams? Was he eating too late at night? Was he putting his head on a hard pillow or a rock or something that caused some bad dreams? Well, because we know the whole story. And we can tell that those dreams, because of the storyline that goes along, came from God. They were a vision of what was to come. And God speaks to people in dreams and visions. And last week Keith was covering the Pentecost story and talking about the Holy Spirit. And we're told in the kind of the Pentecost story of Acts 2 and verse 17, it says there a quote from an Old Testament passage from Joel. That's also chapter 2, but it's verse 28. And it says, "In the last days, God says, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions, and your old men will dream dreams." You can work out your age group by what you have. In the last days. And we are much more in the last days than in Joel's time. We are much more in the last days than in Peter's time at the day of Pentecost. And God says he will give people dreams and visions. So it's not that being a dreamer is a bad thing. Being a dreamer for God certainly is a good thing. It's part of God's plan to kind of dream dreams and have vision. And here we are at the church birthday. And we've already been thinking this morning of how people had a dream, had a vision for Highfield, and how they planted this church here 80 odd years ago. And the people at Highfield have had a dream to build this new sanctuary. Well, I say new, it was new at the time, in the 1960s, to kind of free up the space in the hall to do other activities and extend out here. In more recent years, we've had visions and dreams to have Messy Church, to publish Highfield highlights, to do lots of things that we've done over the last few years, and use the premises for the community more. John Maxwell is a Christian who specialises in leadership. And he says of Joseph was a dreamer. God gave him dreams and the ability to interpret dreams. So what might Joseph say to us if he was here this morning? Dreams are conceived long before they are achieved. You know the story of Joseph? Dreams are conceived long before they are achieved. Between the birth of a dream and its realization is always a process. The period is filled with doubts, adversity, changes, and surprises. And during the process, you will experience good days and bad. Frequently, you will be faced with a dilemma. Do I give up on this dream, or do I go on? And without hesitation, John Maxwell says, I can give you the answer. Don't give up your dreams. And I was thinking about various things that we could use this morning and thinking about dreams and all of that. And I smiled to myself and I thought, do I put this video clip on? Well, yeah, I'll put it on. It's from the film Tangled. Some of you have seen, who's seen Tangled? A few of you? Okay, you might want to go and see it now. And it's the story of Rapunzel. And she escapes the tower and ends up in a rather rough and shoddy inn where the people there are very rough and shoddy and strong and frightening. And just at the moment when everything seems to be going wrong, suddenly someone starts playing some music about a dream. So this is a break. We can stop that and we'll put this on and I can sit down and and some of us have got a dream way down inside, but it's kind of been forgotten. And I'm hoping perhaps just by thinking about Joseph today and this week, and as you read through the passage, it kind of rekindles that dream or that vision that perhaps you've had for a long while inside, and perhaps have put it to one side, or think, I can't do that now, or it won't happen now. When Joseph verbalized his dream to his brothers, they kind of slapped him down. Here comes that dreamer. In other words, he's not going to amount to much. He's just a dreamer. I'm going to listen to visions and dreams and all those kind of things. Of course, in hindsight, we all know different. We know exactly what those dreams that God gave to Joseph meant. But at the time, Joseph was kind of ridiculed for just being a dreamer. And sometimes we get a dream, a vision, and we kind of get scared to talk about it, for fear that we're going to get put down. You thought, what? You imagined that? You know? And we kind of worried that people might laugh at us or think it's stupid. But the lesson here is don't give up on that dream, particularly if it is a God-given dream. Because God is with you, and He was the one that gave it to you in the first place. Maybe it was dreams of church growth. Maybe it was dreams of a loved one becoming a follower of Jesus Christ. Maybe it was a dream of some ministry that was going to be run in the church, and it hasn't happened yet. And sometimes we have to verbalize our dreams. We have to visualize our dreams. I quickly put this together. Kind of frame our dream and kind of put it up there. Because sometimes when it's in here or it's down here, it kind of just gets washy and pushed around and forgotten. But if we kind of say, I've got a dream, I've got a vision that I believe God has given to me, and I'm going to put it up, I'm going to frame it. However you want to frame it. Whether you want to write it down somewhere, and put it in your diary, or stick it on your fridge, or whatever, and kind of say, this is what I believe God has given me as a vision, as a dream. And I still hold to that, because I still think it comes from God. And we need to name whatever that dream is. I wonder what yours is. I wonder, even as I'm talking, and I think, yeah, there is something that I thought I could do, or I would like to see happen in Highfield, or that's why we kind of had that board up there. You won't forget that board up there, will you? And you can still see your sheet of paper with your little mark on it. Because a few weeks ago you said, I'm going to keep praying and working on that one person. Because that was a name that God gave you, a kind of a little vision that God gave you a few weeks back. And that's going to stay there to remind you of that. We're not going to put it away, scrunch it up. When that person comes to know the Lord and starts to get discipled, then you can take the name off. Otherwise, it's going to remind you. Don't give up on that dream, on that vision that God has given to you. Even if it doesn't start off well. And let's face it, Joseph's dream got him down the well. And when the Spirit gives us some dream or vision, depending whether we're old or young, the enemy will try and tempt us away. You know, Joseph looked like things were going okay, and he kind of, this is good, and even though he got put down the well and then he got sold off, he kind of ended up with a good master, and he thought this is okay, and then he got to the good master, and then he got falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, which was kind of an unexpected quarter because he thought it was all going so well, and this was perhaps part of God's dream for him. And so he got thrown into prison. And it just seemed the devil was just pulling him down, and perhaps kind of saying to him, nah, give up on your dream. You imagine your brothers bowing down towards you, and now look at you. You're in jail, falsely accused. So it's our birthday. What are your dreams? We need to now name them. We need to frame them. Verbalize them. Come and talk with me during lunch. You're going to say, you know, I've always had this dream for Highfield that I thought was going to happen because I thought it was a God thing. Hasn't happened yet. Or you may want to say to me, you know, in my head I just felt I was going to be doing this. And it's never happened yet. Verbalize it. Tell me, tell someone what that vision, that dream is that God gave to you. You know, the ultimate dreamer has always been God. In fact, every dreamer that has ever lived in the kingdom of God did nothing but embrace God's vision, God's dream. And we must never lose our dreamers. Never put them down. Never put them to one side. I remember a story, a very quick story, I'm going to rush it through. And it was a guy that was walking around some office and so on, saw this guy in his office just sitting at an empty desk with his feet up, just kind of like that. And the guy said, see him, you know, doing much. Why don't you fire him? He hasn't got any paperwork on his desk. And the guy said, don't you touch him. He's the one that comes up with all the ideas. He's not being stuffed down with all sort of paperwork and filing and all that. He just sits there and he works things through and dreams and imagines for the company. And we need dreamers. We need visionaries in our churches, here at Highfield as well. You know, there's two classes of Christian in a church. There's the boat sitters and there's the water walkers. There's the dreaders and the dreamers. And the dreamers are kind of dangerous people because they're always kind of rocking the boat. They're always thinking there's something outside to do. There's a box to open. There's a boat to get out of. And there's not many dreamers today, and we need to listen to them in our churches. Because many of them have been pushed down, perhaps by tradition, perhaps by religion. Oh no, we don't do that. This is a church. I mean, Joseph's brothers wanted him dead. Because his dreams threatened them. And yet God is looking for people who will dare to dream, who will see him and his vision outside of the box, and willing to get out of that box and walk with it. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream. And he was despised for that dream by so many. He dreamed that the United States of America would actually treat everyone equally, that it would put its constitution and creeds actually into practice so that they practice what they preached. And like Joseph, Martin was outcast by some, even of his own brothers in the Baptist Convention. Because of his dream, Martin was beaten, was stabbed, was jailed. But dreams inspire us to push through opposition. Dreams often motivate us to defy the odds. And dreaming is necessary. Oh God, raise up dreamers today here at Highfield. Give us fresh understanding, give us fresh imagination, give us fresh vision to dream big. It's all right because we have a big God, and if He gives us a big dream, we can rely on a big God to see it through. And I still believe that God has big plans for us at Highfield. We've kind of almost testified that this morning by what's been said here. And Highfield Church is not a place. It is a people. A group of people. Us. Remind us again of those words in the Bible, in the Old and the New Testament. It must be important. In the last days, God says, I will pour out my Spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions. Your old men, and I want to add old women, will dream dreams. Don't be afraid, because they are God's dreams. Declare them. Frame them. And run with them as far as you can for the sake of God's kingdom. Let's bow in prayer.